today we are having a drug presentation by one of our very close company that is producing one of the antioxidant brands that seems to be one of the most popular names in hematology clinic in LASUTH. Today we'll be taking a presentation from the Jobelyn group, and we'll be talking on Jobelyn as a capsule and antioxidant, and our presenter shall be Dr. Abia-Okon, who would probably introduce to us the team from Jobelyn that will be doing the presentation. Dr. Abia-Okon.
Thank you very much, Doc. That's my name, and I think we should have talked with each other before you introduce me, because we are changing the concept now. We want to call Jobelyn food. You know, it has been packaged into capsules. I run a private clinic. I'm a surgeon, but I have fallen in love with Jobelyn. And that's why all over the world now I go talking about Jobelyn. And by the time you listen to me to the end, you will come to realize and find out why a surgeon has decided to promote herbal medicine. But let me correct you. It's not very popular in the world now to use the word herbal medicine. We talk about phytomedicine. That is medicines obtained from plants, not war. And you come to realize that this has always been the case, as about 2,500 years ago. The father of medicine had always said, let your medicine be from your food, and let food be your medicine, vice versa. So you see, there's a tendency in the world now for people to revert to using, formerly it was supplements gotten from all sorts of chemicals. Nowadays, we talk about directly from the plant world, not something that is mixed up in the laboratory to resemble the real thing. You'll be shocked if I told you how ascorbic acid, the popular vitamin C, is obtained nowadays. It's very far from the oranges and the citrus fruits that you know about. All the same is ascorbic acid, which has been made through chemical mixtures. But I'm not here to talk about ascorbic acid. I'm here to talk about Jobelyn. Jobelyn is very popular. Sahel region, Northern Africa, all over the place. You go to Ethiopia, Eritrea, northern part of Nigeria. You take a lot of it and you go to. And I just took this as an interest that the pharaohs of Egypt used it and planted it along the Jubi River. You know, that is why in the beginning it was called Jubi formula. You know, since then we have turned it into Jobelyn. Now, you may wonder when the pharaohs used it. They used it on two occasions. When they married a new young wife, and when they were preparing to go to war or coming back from war. So you can guess approximately why they did these things at this particular time of time. Probably to energize themselves or to make them more potent. Your guess is as good as mine. Every part of sorghum plant is useful, starting from the leaves, the stem, the seeds, the roots. They're all useful, but Jobelyn is made from the leaf sheets. The leaf sheet is that part where the leaf gets attached to the stem. Only that very short part. That's what they call the leaf sheet. Unfortunately, I don't have the picture here. But I'm sure in this handout, okay, this is a new type. But the leaf sheet is just that part of the leaf that attaches itself to the stem of the plant. And the Yorubas call it Poro Okababa. When they take this leaf sheet, they boil it and they drink it for practically everything. And they were surprised that it was somehow close to this relationship that the manufacturer of Tumba Kubeno got to learn more about this sorghum bicolor. Now, like I said, sorghum bicolor is used for food. You come to realize now, because that's the theme of today's lecture, you come to realize from the nutritional analysis of Jobelyn, and it's used for hot teas, food colorants. We are advising the world now that if you want to color your ice cream, instead of using the synthetic coloration, the red synthetic colorations for your strawberry, I'm sure you don't know that the color of the strawberry of the ice cream hasn't got a drop of strawberry in it, but it's chemicals made from 32 different, it's a compound made up of 32 chemicals that have been mixed together to give you that red color and strawberry taste. Now we're offering something which has more than synthetism, but a powerful medicinal value that you benefit from. And you are familiar with Brukutu from the Plateau State, and that is also sorghum bicolor. I think they use the seeds, ferment the seeds, and that's how they get their beers. And of course, traditional medicinal uses, especially for management of pregnant women when they are anemic, sickle-cell disorder, people when after crisis, when they become very anemic. It's very popular with the locals, that's what they use. And all sorts of extracts, be it aqueous extracts or alcohol extracts, is used quite often medicinally. Interesting to learn that Nigeria is the leading producer of sorghum bicolor, about 12.6%, ahead of India, Mexico, and America. Now, I was wondering from where to start my presentation today. An idea came to me. I said, let me start from the head, central nervous system, inside the skull. Researches have been going on, UCH Ibadan, these are animal studies by Okoro. I don't know his designation. I know he's a doctor. I know he's a pharmacologist, UCH Ibadan. He has done all these tests, very interesting, He has, this thing is, potential for treatment of epilepsy and anti-amnestic effects, ameliorates symptoms of psychosis, anti-aggressive activity, and antidepressant-like property of people have all been defined and researched into at the University College Hospital in Ibadan. Probably because of this, the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Yaba got interested. They were amazed at the results and the reports that emanated from Ibadan. So they are now planning to investigate the effect of Jobelyn in patients with schizophrenia, putting in mind that schizophrenia is a prototypical psychotic disorder. Now, like I've been telling you, we have changed the concept. We don't even talk about Jobelyn being a supplement. We say Jobelyn is food. It's food. And you'll see why. And it is loaded with quality ingredients. Let me warn you not to jump into wrong conclusions, because you are going to see some substances present in Jobelyn, and you might be wondering, oh, why? We heard there's problem with this compound, we heard there's problem with that compound, but I'll tell you something. The dosages of these molecules in Jobelyn are compatible with optimal quality of life, So let's go on to see. Jobelyn is loaded with substances to provide you with calories, protein, cholesterol. People say, ooh, cholesterol is not good. But I quickly remind you that your liver produces cholesterol. And cholesterol is very important in forming the cell membrane of all the cells that we have. Not to talk about the steroids, estrogen, so on and so forth. So that quantity is the important thing, in 100 grams. It is optimal, it is used for. And somebody drew my attention to fluoride. There's an American group who are trying to condemn fluoride. We had always known that it's included in toothpaste because it's good, but these people did the research and found that it is not exactly, it's poisonous to the cardiovascular system and so forth. But you see, here we go again, it's only 8.47 milligrams in 100 grams. An infinitesimal quantity, which goes there to do its job. And you may be wondering, why am I emphasizing on this? I'm sure if, when the world started, this planet started, and we were looking for where to inhabit, and the scientists asked the atmospheric configuration on that planet Earth that we are going to. I'm sure if they had told them that oxygen is just about 21%, nitrogen about 70%, argon about 1%, they would have said, no, 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 we are not going there. We need only oxygen. And I'm sure if they had gone to the planet with only oxygen in the air, all of them would have died. So don't be surprised that you have interesting values here, which hitherto you might have thought is not compatible with life. Definitely it is. Here we have dietary fibers here, 50 grams in 100 grams. So it's quite efficient. I'm sure you are aware of the gastrointestinal effect of dietary fibers. Very, very necessary. In the olden days, we thought dietary fibers was meant for you to move your bowel very well. Now we have gotten to know that it has a very important part to play in the cardiovascular system. And here you have a variety of sugars. I'll be frank with you, I don't know why nature had to package fructose, glucose, sucrose, lactose, maltose in one plant. There must be a reason. There must be a reason. Probably this content has made Jobelyn so unusually good product, plant, food. Let me say food. And you can see here, it hasn't got all the vitamins, but it has got the very, very important vitamins. Vitamin A, vitamin C, thiamine, that's B1, riboflavin, B2, that's B3, and vitamin B12. You know, very important ones. We got interested in this this unit led by this associate professor Nancy D. Turner. She works at the Food Science and Genetics unit of Texas University, and Texas is known for its researches into sodium bicolor. And the funny thing is that the research they are doing is centered on the cover sheet of the grain. The phytochemicals in the bran, that's the cover of the grains, is just about below 5% of the phytochemicals you have in the leaf sheet of our natural sodium bicolor here in Nigeria. And they are so happy and so proud about the little pincy phytochemicals that they have. They have done so much research in collaboration with the University of Hong Kong. They have come up with very fantastic ideas. And when we contacted them and told them that, look, we have another brand of sodium bicolor here, and it's not the grains we're interested in, but the leaf sheets. And these are the quantities of the phytochemicals that we discovered in them. They were so interested, and ever since, well then, not so much now, they wanted to really work with us. One professor, Joseph Awika, is a Kenyan American. He was so interested by the volume of the quantity of phytochemicals, that's beneficial phytochemicals, that you find in the relief. One of the antioxidants that they have there, they are beating their chest, it's about 89 Trolux equivalent. And here we are talking about that type of antioxidant in Jobelyn, about 17,000, almost 18,000 Trolux equivalent. So look at that, 89 to 18,000. That has attracted them. Every human cell, apart from the red blood cell, produces antioxidants. So we should be convinced that antioxidants are very important in the human body. And to confirm this, the tortoise lives long, according to Buck Institute, because the cells are loaded with antioxidants. You know, they tried it on worms, but they were using synthetic antioxidants. And the worms that normally live for 23 days lived for 43 days. So their conclusion was that antioxidants, when introduced to the human cell, will protect the cell from oxidation, and that cell will survive longer. But we were wondering why the research did not continue, because the last we heard about them was that they tried it on mice, they started trying it on rabbits, and then we didn't hear about them again. Our deduction was that they were using synthetic antioxidants. And you see, when you use synthetic antioxidants, for the worm it's just a couple of days. So you won't have the side effects of the synthetic substance you're using. But when you start giving artificial antioxidants for 1 year, 2 years, many years, the side effects come up and you're not going to get the good results. We wrote to them a couple of times, said, why don't you try using our Jobelyn? But you know the pride. We go work institute for age research, we never, they look down and say, this herbal people, how can they come and teach us what to do? But we very much believe that we would have made a difference in their research programs. Just to show you how strong the antioxidants in Jobelyn is. You must have read articles starting from about 2004 about how antioxidants are not so good. So it's a waste of time. Well, how did this come about? Someone discovered that vitamin E is an antioxidant. So when I finished medical school, we were giving maybe 100 units. Then within the twinkle of an eye, it became 200 units, 400 units. By the last count, it was 500 units. Now, in Norway, they tried something. The hospitals tried to give 5,000 units of vitamin E. You know what the result was? Those animals developed cancer. So they damned the whole of antioxidants. They said it was useless, so and so forth. Let me draw your attention to this. The same university did the same research later on and discovered that it is not the grammage, but it is the effect, the antioxidant power against these 5 predominant free radicals. These are the disease-causing free radicals. So if you cannot suppress all of them, even if you like, you use 1 kilogram of antioxidant, you won't achieve anything. So, and you come to discover that most of the antioxidants in town, when you just give them freely, vitamin E, you give them freely, vitamin E just affects peroxide free radicals. That's all. It doesn't deal with the other, although it's the commonest free radical that is in town. But it does not influence the other free radicals, so its effect is not good. Just something of interest, this peroxynitrite. It was discovered that people who have Alzheimer's disease have an overdosage of peroxynitrite free radicals in their brains. And you see, it's not easy to deal with it because the great Jobelyn would just suppress it with this amount of oral value. So if research would go further and find a way of suppressing peroxynitrite, it's a protein originating antioxidant. I mean, we could be on our way on treating Alzheimer's instead of using all these substances that they're using for the meantime. So you can see, which means Jobelyn demonstrates a high oral score against the 5 predominant illness-causing free radicals. That's the core of the matter, ability to influence the disease-causing free radicals. Now, like I told you, the natives, and you see in southwestern Nigeria, what they started noticing was that this Korokoro Kababa, that is the aqueous solution of Jobelyn, was used to cure all forms of anemia, whether in pregnancy or postpartum conditions, whether after malaria. Anytime you went there and the man checked your conjunctiva and saw you were pale, he just needed you with Jobelyn. Now, I'm sure he does not, well, he's late now, I'm sure he does not have a good statistics. But what we realized that he was having a lot of customers. So he must have been having very good results. If inside the village in which he was only using Jobelyn to treat almost all his patients. You know, sometimes he will give you, B complex in tablet form so that you. I learned that he was a laboratory scientist in UCH before he retired, and so for him to have been so popular means he must have discovered the efficacy or the way Jobelyn works. I mean, sodium bicolor works. Now, so we went to town, we said, let's find out whether this information is true. College of Medicine, University of Lagos, University of Benin, Pharmacology. What they did, in fact, they created anemia in laboratory animals and then loaded them with placebo, Jobelyn, nothing, so on and so forth, as it went. And the end result was very interesting. It restored, that is, after creating anemia with using that bacteria there, trypanosoma brucei to induce anemia, and they gave many other things, placebo inclusive and Jobelyn. They found that it restored both PCV and hemoglobin. You see, this is what they discovered in both universities, tertiary institutions, high-class professors working on it. They got this impressive result. And even the healthy rabbits that received daily doses of the herbal preparation showed gradual elevation of PCV and hemoglobin level, which were maintained within normal range. So that's very interesting. You know, very, very interesting. You know, another thing which we overlook, but you know, when you see these things, I've been looking at this slide for many, many years now, getting to over 5 years, and I've come to discover that when you give trypanosoma brucei to an animal, it's a very destructive microorganism. Let's leave the hemoglobin PCV thing aside. They didn't die, which means something must have happened to neutralize these microorganisms. Do you understand what I'm driving at? I mean, because those that did not receive Jobelyn died. Those that were infected by the trypanosoma and did not receive, they died. Whereas those that received the trypanosoma plus Jobelyn survived. Which means Jobelyn, apart from, it's not demonstrated here, but we want to believe that it must have had an effect on the microorganisms, not allowing them to kill the laboratory animals sufficiently. Now, Jobelyn and sickle cell disease. Sickle cell crisis, interestingly, is an inflammatory disease. I don't want the experts in hematology to quarrel with me here, but this was published by Ora Esa, who is an associate professor at this medical school. They said sickle cell crisis is an inflammatory disease. You know, hitherto I thought that the crisis hemolysis was from the sickle cells trying to squeeze themselves through a very tiny lumen, and so got the outer membrane injured. That's why the hemolysis came. Well, they don't believe that that's how exactly happens. They believe that when the obstruction occurs, there's post-ischemia reaction and the release of interleukins and inflammatory cytokines. That is what really causes the damage to the red blood cells. So it's not the physical rubbing, friction on the wall that causes the destruction of the cells. Well, I'm not a hematologist, we can debate that later. You know, Jobelyn suppresses something like this. You know, stroke and brain. A friend told me, a friend who works in the intensive care unit many years, about 5 years ago, he works in the intensive care unit. He started looking at me and said, okay, you know, we give a lot of vitamin C injection to people who have stroke and who have cerebral brain trauma and things like that. You know, because it's an antioxidant and it does a great job for these people. I said, that's very interesting. So I went researching, and this is what I found, that reperfusion injury is due to inflammatory response, which causes release of these chemokines, interleukins and free radicals. You know, and of course, when you give antioxidants, you know, anti-inflammatories especially, like Jobelyn,